Hello everyone, my name is Arcaneese and today I'm going to talk to you about my views on the character classes in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I'm going to discuss why I don't think the class system works and how I would rework it to allow for more organic tactical roles within Ghost Recon, providing freedom of choice to players. As ever, if you have any thoughts on today's video, give a comment down below and please consider liking or subscribing to the channel. You can also engage with me over on Twitter. In the background I'll have some of my limited HUD co-op gameplay. I have a friend up in the hills doing sniper overwatch, but unfortunately you won't be able to hear our comms during this recording. One of the major differences in Ghost Recon Breakpoint, apart from the addition of killer robots, was the addition of character classes into the game. Players can choose between 7 different classes, each of which has their own passive, active, and unique class item ability. These classes help players fill particular roles in a squad and provide specialist abilities when filling that role. Now before we get into the video, I want to clarify on some of the terms I'm going to be using. When I talk about class item, I mean the unique consumable item each class has, such as the assault class's gas grenade or the medic's health pouch. By active ability, I mean the cooldown ability, such as the Echelon's sonar vision or the Pathfinder's smoke grenade. And passive ability refers to the passive buffs on each class, such as the assaults getting increased handling with assault rifles and shotguns, and the sharpshooter getting increased reloads with DMRs and snipers. Now personally, I don't think that fixed classes work in Ghost Recon. In a game which is attempting to ground itself in reality, again, we're not talking about the killer robots in this video, it doesn't make sense to me that by changing my class, Nomad is suddenly harder to see, or can hold his breath longer, or handle recoil better. Nomad is a professional soldier, and all of these things should already be skills he has, and it feels like the game is forcing a player to make choices about how to play. Now I think that planning for a mission and making tactical decisions about how to approach it is a great way to play, but that shouldn't mean deciding what class of weapon you will commit to in advance, and Nomad should have the skills to respond to the situation as it unfolds. All of this is before I get onto the addition of active abilities, which just have no place in this type of game. You may feel differently about classes in Ghost Recon, and I understand that some people want to specialize to a type of warfare, so let me outline how I would alter the class system to provide greater flexibility to the player, while still giving a way to play a specialist role. Each of the classes has 2 unique attributes, a class item, which has a limited supply, and an active ability, which is on a cooldown. First of all, I believe that these active abilities should not be on a cooldown and instead each be a limited use ability, which resets at a bivouac. This fits more with the realism of Nomad surviving on a rower with limited supplies, and encourages more regular restocking at the bivouac, although you could allow players to craft their active abilities too by looting resources in the world, and maybe tactical caches could be lootable by everyone. The limited use would also seem more realistic, especially for abilities such as the sharpshooter's armor-piercing rounds and the engineer's drone, and it would mean that players need to make tactical decisions on when to use their abilities instead of just always having them ready. This is actually almost how the Pathfinder class works now anyway, as you have to find uplink protocols to use your Armoros drone. However, because the Pathfinder has to use his class item, which is the uplink protocol, to charge his active ability, the Armoros drone, it means he has one less usable tool than other classes. So I would simply make the Armoros drone a limited use item, and I would change his class item to be the special thermal vision, which is an improved optics. I'll explain why this is important later. On top of the limited use of active abilities, I think they should all be based within reality. Again, items like armor-piercing rounds, the the Panther's smoke grenade, and even the Pathfinder's armorous drone at least exist within the lore of a rower. Really, my main issue here is that the Assault class's adrenaline rush just grants him temporary immunity and health regen, which doesn't really make much sense at all. I would rework the Assault class ability by instead providing him with a new item, which I'd call Body Armor. The Assault has 4 health bars instead of 3, and instead I would make that 3 health bars and 1 armor bar. The armor bar would always be damaged first, so if you were injured or on low health, you could add armor before going to find somewhere to heal. The Assault active ability would have a limited number of plates they could carry to refill their armor. This would be similar to the armor system in Call of Duty Warzone. I've not mentioned passive abilities of classes so far. I think that some of the passives can be rolled up into the reworked class items, such as the Assault's body armor could supply injury resistance, but in general I would actually just remove the passive abilities. The idea here is to return the game to a more realistic setting. Again, not 100% realism as the island is filled with killer robots, but just not giving players flat-out bonuses to certain weapon models. Nomad is a trained soldier and should be equally efficient with all weapons. Some of the passive abilities I would consider making perks, which go into the 3 perk slots on your character, and let the player select the ones they want. Examples of this would be advanced suppressors, which I would rework to be effective on all guns, not just SMGs and pistols, or the ability to loot more from a tactical catch, which again would refill the class active ability. However, the majority of passives I would just remove from the game. There are players out there who I know disagree with the perk system as a whole, and dislike that Nomad becomes stronger as the player levels up, again with the thinking that Nomad is already a trained soldier when he arrives on a rower. However, I'm not going to go in depth on the perk system in this video. To pull together all of my thoughts so far on classes, I would make it so that the player has total freedom to choose any 2 class items or abilities. This would mean that you could take, for example, the Assault's gas grenade as well as the sharpshooter's armor-piercing rounds, both of which would be of a limited use ability. This would completely remove the idea of predefined classes in the game, but still provides players with the ability to specialize and build their own role. It would create so much build diversity and make some really interesting combinations. The reason why I suggested that the Pathfinder's improved optics should be made a class item was so that this would be one of the items players could add to their loadout. The freedom to play how you want to play is what makes the Ghost Recon games so fun. Flexibility and customization of character and playstyle are huge advantages to this franchise, and I feel that the current system locks players' choices and takes Breakpoint down far too much of a looter-shooter approach, instead of a free open-world tactical shooter game. These changes would also impact how the challenge system works in Ghost Recon, and I'm going to be covering and how I would handle that in my next video. If you've had any thoughts on my ideas today, please drop a comment below. I'd love to hear if this is something you agree or disagree with, and if you enjoyed the content today, please remember to like and subscribe. I'll be back again with my thoughts on the challenge system.